I mean, I think I probably wouldn't use the word sovereignty and command, more knowing my identity and therefore cooperating with myself. So I don't command my body or my cells, I cooperate with them in spirit, soul, body oneness. So if my cells are out of alignment with health and wholeness, I'm looking to bring them back into a oneness of agreement with health and wholeness, not command them to change. So it's sort of is gone from that, well, I'm taking authority over my body, to no, I'm cooperating and bringing my body into a sense of oneness and union, like you are with the Father and Son and Spirit. It's that sense of merging where your body, soul, and spirit can come to the same state of oneness and agreement and cooperation. So, for instance, an example would be, I've not been sick for 30 years or whatever, but I have had injuries. So I've had accidents. So a lot of those accidents have been when I've been not quite being careful enough with power tools. So they're quite dangerous accidents, and therefore I've had a number of close shaves of losing fingers and hands and all sorts of stuff. But I have had some quite bad cuts. The last time I did it was with a chainsaw, and I should have been holding on to it with two hands, and I was holding on with one hand, and it bounced off a log and bounced up onto my fingers. And so it hit. Fortunately, I had quite thick gloves on, but it went through the gloves. And then I was like, oh, I saw they were getting red. So I thought, oh no. My first reaction was, I need to say sorry to my fingers for the way I have not cared for them, because I should have been more careful. I should have not been so reckless. And therefore I said sorry immediately, because I needed to take responsibility for the way I treated myself, treated my fingers, my body. And so I chose, spirit and soul, to apologize to my fingers. And then I went in and basically took the gloves off and looked at the damage. And there was, fortunately, it didn't mangle it so much, but it did cut a few quite nasty grooves, and they were quite open. So then I'm then immediately, okay, I'm now in a state of, I'm sorry for what I've done. Now I'm talking to the cells of my fingers. One, fight off infection. Do not get infected. So I'm bringing a cooperation and protection around my fingers. I'm then speaking to the cells of my fingers to begin to replicate again, to begin to bring healing, to begin to restore my fingers back to wholeness. Now, I did sort of, there was someone with me at the time who was a bit over exuberant with the, you need to sterilize your fingers and whatever. And she got this TCP, we call it, and in my word, she squirted this stuff into the wound, and it was two open wounds, and it's like it did now sting. And then I'm like, oh, so now I'm then apologizing for my fingers to the fact that the pain that they're going through in this thing. So then I wrapped them up, and basically then just started to cooperate. So it's like my thinking and my whole thing is on health, restoration of the cells, the wound closing, because I basically could have gone and got stitches, because it was like an 1.5-inch wound, which was gaping. But I thought, okay, what do I need to do here? Okay, no, I am going to use the fact that I can operate in this authority for health to bring about this restoration. And I did. And I then continue to have that attitude of, we're one in agreement for complete restoration, complete health. Now, I actually haven't even got any, didn't even happen to be scars. There were not even any scars on it. And it was a big wound. I mean, it was basically an 1.5-inch gaping wound on one finger, and several other cuts on the other finger. But they all, within a week, were all completely made whole. Because I agreed for that wholeness. I didn't sort of do it in a sort of an aggressive way, but in a cooperative agreement way. My spirit soul is agreeing with the cells of my fingers for a restoration and a coming together of health. Now, sometimes you can get a miracle, and basically everything gets instantly restored. But I was actually wanting to demonstrate to two other people the process that I was going to go through in seeing this wound completely restored and healed, and closed home, because it didn't look like it was going to get closed home. It looked like it was gaping and I'm going to need stitches. But I just wanted to demonstrate what you can do when you're in cooperation with your spirit, soul, and body. So that for me is how I do it. It's not so much I'm taking authority and making this declaration, but I'm using the authority that I know I have in my identity as a son and co-heir and co-creator to bring about the intentional choice for restoration, for health, wholeness. So I'm intentionally choosing to cooperate together. And that's why I need to say sorry in the initial thing, because I chose to be reckless. I wasn't paying attention. I wasn't being, and I hadn't used the chainsaw that much. And therefore I wasn't really taking care about how I should use it properly. So I'm bringing it into cooperation and union for first. That's why I apologized. That's why I said sorry for the way I had treated it by not being careful enough, by being reckless. So I'm now making sure there is no negativity from the cells of my fingers towards me.
Okay.
Because you can have trauma. It was trauma. Those cells are traumatized. Now, I wasn't traumatized in my soul spirit because I'm fairly robust when it comes to having done things like this to myself before. So I sort of wasn't traumatized in myself, but I realized I had caused trauma to my fingers. Therefore, I needed to apologize for causing the trauma, make sure that that trauma wasn't going to be remembered in those cells. And that's what forgiveness does. It removes the record of wrong. When you choose to forgive, you remove the record of wrong. So I chose to forgive myself for what I'd done, so that the record of wrong, of the trauma within the cells of my fingers, was removed. Then we could cooperate together in that sense of oneness, union, and wholeness for the restoration of everything back to its original purpose condition. And therefore, I am then making sure that there is no competing energy, negative energy against positive energy that's competing, because there's a oneness of that union of relationship that is in agreement. Okay. And the power of agreement is whatever is agreed in heaven can be outworked on earth. So I'm agreeing with the Father's desire because he didn't want my fingers to be damaged. So I'm coming in full line because he wants me to live in complete health and wholeness. So I'm in agreement with heaven. And therefore, from my heavenly position of being seated in the heavenly places, I can then cooperate together with my spirit, soul, body to bring about that end result, which is health and wholeness and complete restoration of my fingers in this instance.